Update. Am I the a-hole for staying neutral in a situation between my son and my daughter plus wife? Original post. This all started a couple of years ago and it completely split our family apart. My son Z, 22 male, has pretty much been estranged from us since he was 18. Adam is the son of a good family friends. He and my daughter P, 24 female, began dating around when they were 19. The problem is Adam was a bully to my son throughout school. As you can imagine, he didn't take it very well. He was furious, however, my daughter refused to budge on this. I tried to stay out of the situation, but my wife took my daughter's side, partially as we're good friends with Adam's parents, but also because she thought Z would eventually get over it. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. Instead, it made a stark difference in my son's personality. He had become much more aggressive, cold, and disrespectful. He no longer listened to what me and his mother had to say, often using intimidation to get what he wanted. He would also disappear for days at a time without so much as a word. This would more or less carry on until he left for university, after which he probably spent no more than 2 weeks in total back at home, opting to stay with his friends or whatever girl he was seeing at the time. He has rejected any olive branch that we extend. This has completely destroyed our family, and it especially hurts my wife, as they were quite close before this happened. The last time we spoke was last year before lockdown. He called me a coward for sitting on the fence. I understand why he feels the way that he does, but was I really wrong to stay neutral in this? I didn't feel like it was my place to control my daughter's dating life. You really need to understand where your son is coming from. He was bullied by this person, and bullying, in my opinion, is just not acceptable. So really, you all need to come to terms with this and try to work something out with him. Best of luck to all of you. Now for the advice before reading the update. This is one of those cases where some of the comments make me think rogue AIs that don't understand emotion are making posts on Am I the A-hole? Or else there's a disturbingly high percentage of actual human beings running around who have a social interaction matrix that ranges between the extremes of anything that I want to do that is technically legal is fine, and you can't be upset about any of it, and you can't tell me what to do. If I want to do it, I'm gonna do it, and you can all F yourselves. I was bullied horrifically as a child, both verbally and physically, because I'm disabled. My younger sister began to stand up for me and got a reputation in the neighborhood as that little girl who beats everyone up. She got labeled the bully when all she was doing was protecting someone who couldn't protect themselves. I once stood up for myself and shoved the girl who was assaulting me, and I was the one who got in trouble. My parents also did all they could and became nuisances in the eyes of my school. Society doesn't care about the victims of bullying. You were absolutely the a-hole in this situation, and I don't blame the son for avoiding you entirely. Your entire family deserves to be broken up for the trauma that you are inflicting on your son. Bullying is not something we get over or grow out of, and the potential to make said bully a family member is rather appalling here. Honestly, not only would I personally be avoiding the entire family as long as said bully is dating a relative, I'd be getting a restraining order. Now for the update. I wanted to upload this earlier, but I just got around to remembering what the password for this was. I did not plan on making an update. It was quite clear that we were in the wrong and we accept that. However, my son was informed of the original post by one of his cousins. He got in contact and he found it hilarious. My wife managed to convince him to meet up with us and talk. He insisted on me making an update on the takeaways from that conversation. So here goes, regarding the post. His exact words were, "Big up the people who showed love, and all the people who called me petty can go F themselves." He said this with the biggest smile on his face. He also found it hilarious how, despite me trying my best to make him look bad, most of the replies were still ripping into me. I'm sure a lot of people are interested in how he is doing now. I'm happy to say he has outgrown his abrasiveness and has become a very confident and intelligent young man. He's very secretive about what he's doing now, but one thing he is open and proud about is the charity he runs. He happily went into detail about how he works with disadvantaged children and helps get them opportunities, particularly in sports. In regards to his sister and Adam, he seemed completely indifferent to them. He said he wasn't particularly interested in talking about two losers who no one really likes. It was a long conversation. We talked about a lot, but it seemed to end with my son letting us know that while there might be the slightest bit of contact between us, me and my wife, will always be on the outside looking in on his life. While this isn't what me and my wife hope for, we are looking at it as a chance to eventually build our relationship back up. This was the main takeaway from everything that has happened, but I know there are probably a lot of questions that people want to ask. I'll try my best to get around to answering all of them. Story 2. Update. My 21 female boyfriend 20 male wants to lie on his law school applications about how he's gay. Original post. My boyfriend's Asian American, had a very high pressure and I'm pretty sure physically abusive childhood where his parents wanted him to go to an Ivy League university at all costs. He didn't get into any and believes this is primarily due to his race and not his merits. Because of this, he thinks it's completely acceptable to lie on applications if merit isn't the primary factor anyway. His parents have continued to put pressure on him to either get a prestigious job or go to a prestigious school for grad school. He seems to still want to please them. His application for law school is very good. Our uni advisors think he's got a very good chance of getting into a top 10 law school. He wants to get into top 5 and suggested to me that he pretends that he's gay. He's bi but not openly, but definitely not gay, we're dating. I said no, and after an argument told him that I'll break up with him to pretend he's gay if that's how he wants to do it. My parents think I was too harsh. How should I deal with this? My boyfriend of 2 years is Asian American and had a very high pressure and I'm almost completely sure physically abusive, but he'll never admit to anything of that nature childhood, to get into an Ivy League university for undergrad. He believes he was a more qualified applicant than everyone else in his class but didn't get into any Ivy Leagues, including a case where he and his best friend at the time, a girl, were waitlisted together on one of them. She was called from the waitlist and told him it was definitely because of her race, white, gender, and because her family was able to pay full tuition whereas he wasn't able to pay really anything. She offered to decline it for him so that he could go instead, but he refused. Edit. I didn't write that last part clearly enough. It wasn't a literal trade-in opportunity offered by the university, but they were the only 2 students from that school, as far as they knew, to be waitlisted. The school was the largest in its geographic area, so they thought that he was next in line due to being a more qualified applicant on the objective stats, but less favorable in other areas. Obviously, we'll never know since he told her not to turn down the offer. But the whole experience left him extremely bitter about his chances in applying to anything, and he fully believes that lying on his application is acceptable insofar as he's not caught, because the primary thing he's judged on is his race anyway. Anyway, he's done extremely well for himself in college, unless he really F's up the interview, and he's gone to several mock interviews on the off chance that was why he didn't get into any of the Ivy Leagues and pass with flying colors. He's practically guaranteed a spot at the top 40 law school at our university, in-state privilege, and our pre-law advisors told him he's got a great chance at top 10. He doesn't believe they're being completely honest. However, he's not interested in top 10. He's interested in top 5. I think it's because of his mom primarily, who I know calls him every 3 days and seems to barely ask about his life and instead asks about the status of his application, where he's thinking of applying, etc. He actually really loves his mom and says that she was nice to him, but from what he's told me, she was just not as bad as his dad. It makes me sick to my stomach to realize that after everything he's done and went through, he still wants the approval of his parents. After a particularly long call yesterday, he seemed thoughtful and distracted for most of the night. Then he came back to me today to ask if I'd be okay with him taking off pictures of me from his social media, and I edit captions, delete certain pictures to make it seem like we're just friends, not dating. I asked why, and he said that he thinks the best move for him is to say that he's gay on his application. He showed me some drafts to the personal essay questions that he wrote up about being gay. They're all really insightful and everything, but it's not completely true and authentic to his life. The crazy thing is that he's bisexual. He doesn't tell almost anyone because he's afraid his parents will disown him if they find out, but he reluctantly showed me some pictures of his ex-boyfriend from our freshman year of college when we were talking about our exes. I asked him why he doesn't just say that because that's actually true. He laughed and said that nobody will care about that, and then went into an explanation about the epistemic contract of bisexual erasure, which actually kind of made sense. I actually don't care about taking down social media posts or whatever. It's only temporary, and even if it's not for whatever reason, we'll still have those pictures. But the reasoning is what I don't like, so I told him point blank that I wanted to support him as much as I could, but I wouldn't do it for his outdated need to please his parents. We argued for a bit until I just said that I'd be happy to pretend he's gay by breaking up with him, but nothing in between. He looked hurt by that and said, "We should go back home. We don't live together and think about it again." I told my parents who love him, and they actually surprisingly seemed torn about whether lying about being gay was really that bad, but they did agree that threatening to break up with him was too far. I was completely floored by this. So now I'm turning to the internet. I know playing up the things you did is a standard part of applications, but this just seems too far. If it's not too far though, then yeah, I crossed a line by threatening to break up. What do you think? Now for the comments. The bottom line is that your boyfriend asked you to lie about something you weren't comfortable lying about. You said no. You get to do that. A good partner won't pressure you to do something you don't think is right. I don't think it really matters whether his lie is objectively morally right or a good idea. There are intersecting marginalities here that would require a lot to unpack. There's also a lot that goes into the risk and reward decision of lying on a law school application. You didn't want to participate, so you set a boundary and offered him an out. I think you should continue to stand your ground and stay true to what you think is right here. OP. Realistically, he didn't actually need to tell me anything. He could have just privated his accounts, and that would have been good enough for the purpose of if any admissions committee looked upon his social media unless they somehow and for whatever reason tracked me down. 2, extremely unlikely. The only thing he actually needed to do is to not email the schools he's applying to and saying he's not gay, which I wouldn't do anyway, and wouldn't have even considered doing so if he had not told me. So paradoxically, I actually appreciate that he's being honest with me for once after dodging pretty much any question about serious stuff from his home life. He definitely has trust issues, and I feel pretty crappy about myself if I just made them worse over something that actually wasn't that bad. So to me, it does matter if this is fairly benign, like exaggerating on how many people are part of the pre-law club he's president of. His application says 500 members, which is true of the number of people on the email list, but only like 50 show up to meetings, or if it's worse than the standard selling yourself on your application. If it was something like him lying about his competencies, then I'd have no part of that. I don't know if I'd go so far as to alert the schools he's applying to, but I would definitely break up with him. I don't know if lying about being gay is on that level, and I'm getting mixed messages. Is it unfair to say that he didn't get into an Ivy League school for undergrad because he's always trying to find a way around doing the actual work? OP, yes. He showed me his college applications when I told him it was pretty crappy to say that he got denied from Ivy Leagues because he was Asian. He was valedictorian at his high school, made Intel ISEF, scored well on the AIME, but not well enough to qualify for USAMO, perfect ACT and SAT, and everything else you generally expect from someone that gets accepted into an Ivy League, club leadership, community service, athletics, etc. His essays were good and remind me of the papers we write now for our third year of college. He did admit that he was a little socially awkward before coming to college, so maybe he flubbed the interview, but it's hard to imagine that he messed it up that badly compared to the weight of everything else on his application. Now for the update. Thanks everyone for the advice. Both of us were busy with finals, so we agreed not to talk about it until we were finished, and most of our time together was just studying anyway. After our last finals yesterday, we sat down and talked. He said that he wasn't going to put that on his application and that I didn't need to do anything like take any pictures down. He apologized and said that he was wrong to prioritize our relationship below something that would only give him a marginal advantage, if there's any advantage at all. We've been dating for 2 years and he thinks that there's real potential for us to be the rest of our lives type of thing. That should have taken priority, so that was good. Then I started asking him some questions along the lines of what I saw commenters say, and he was confused, then got angry. He correctly guessed that I posted on Reddit about it. He was really unhappy about that, but he said he'd pretend like that didn't happen as long as I don't do it again. So I guess this is my last time posting here. He said no to pretty much everything commenters suggested, therapy, cutting contact with parents, but he did say that if there was a situation where he needed to choose between having a relationship with his parents and having a relationship with me, he'd choose me. It wasn't everything that I was hoping for, but it's a good start. I am hoping I don't have to go through this again in the future. Story 3. Finding out that my 24 male, girlfriend 27 female has 4 kids, not one with update. Hi, I posted yesterday, but I accidentally deleted it while trying to edit it. To recap for those who didn't see it, I was seeing a girl made things official 4 months ago. She told me she had 1 child, a 3-year-old from a long-term relationship, which I was fine with. She also told me that she had an emergency hysterectomy and couldn't have any more. She had a scar, so I had no reason to doubt this. Turned out it was a C-section scar. Used condoms initially until 2 months in, and we exchanged test results. Found out via 3-year-old's dad that he was a one-night stand. She taunted him about how he inseminated herself with his condom. She gets a good chunk in child support from him. Found out she has 3 other kids that she dropped off to her 6-year-old widowed mom who's supporting them all. Dad's not involved in their lives. Different dads to all. Oldest is 9, youngest is just 1. Dropped the oldest 2 when they were 5 and 3, claiming she couldn't be a mother anymore. Had another baby, 3-year-old, decided to keep her but not the others. Had another baby a year ago, who she dropped off to her mom after a month. Blocked her mom and her older kids from contacting her. Doesn't see them or even phone them. 3-year-old is in her custody. Dad went via the court to gain access. He takes 3-year-old to visit siblings at her mom's during his contact time. Poor kids beg him to ask their mom to contact them and give him drawings, etc., to pass on to their mom in hopes she will want to see them. Making 3-year-old's father upset, so he had an argument with her, which is how I found out. Literally just dropped 2 kids and a newborn with her mom, who's struggling to care for them while having to work full time. This girl appears as the most trustworthy, genuine girl in the world. You believe everything she says and you feel like you've never met a girl like her and can tell her anything, and that she's also a best friend. Father to 3-year-old thought the same initially. It's all fake. I can't believe how good of an actress she is. Confronted her, told her I wasn't leaving her because she had 4 kids, but because she lied about it. She went in defense mode, threatened to tell my mom secrets I'd told her in confidence if I left her. Then tells me she's pregnant with me from her dates that happened when we were using condoms, so I strongly suspect she tampered with them. Paying for a prenatal DNA test being done Tuesday will have results on Thursday. Update to yesterday, as people were suggesting she wasn't really pregnant. I ordered her a pregnancy test for delivery. She took it on FaceTime to me and it was positive. She says when the results come back, she's going to send them to everyone. Don't know where to go from here, assuming it's mine. She seems so sure and wants to rush it so that she can prove it to my family by sending it to them. They don't even know about this and will be so disappointed in me. She just wants to hurt me. I want to explain to them in my own time, but after the test. But she's adamant as soon as the results are through, she's sending it to them. Nasty, bitter, manipulative women. I can't believe someone who I felt was my best friend, perfect and trustworthy, turned out to be this. How can she just leave 3 kids with her mom and refuse contact when they cry over her and want her? She treats children like items. Sure, she will want to keep my baby, as she will get good child support as she does with the 3-year-old. It's nothing for the others. I assume why they're abandoned with her mother. Or perhaps she will do the same to this child. Appreciate any comments, insight, and advice, and will update with people with the results on Thursday. We are no longer together. Now for the advice. Tell your family ASAP, then tell your ex that you intend to fight through the courts for majority custody of the baby she is pregnant with. Stop contact with her. Ask her to contact you when the baby is here on this planet, born. Prior to that, you have no reason to speak at all. Join forces with dad of the 3-year-old and start keeping records. She isn't raising 3 of her kids. You both have an excellent shot at majority custody of your children. And my guess is if mom isn't getting checks, her percentage of custody won't be interesting anymore. It's too late for anything else if she's pregnant and plans to keep the baby. That's why I'm scared, because he actually went for full custody. He told me he spent $25,000 on top lawyers and court fees in total. She spent €0 and represented herself. But she won. He got 2 days a week. He asked for full custody. He provided info on everything, including children living with grandmother, and statement from grandmother saying that she left them and she was struggling to cope and fears the 3-year-old could be left with her again. He never backed down about wanting full custody. No reason he couldn't. He has a good job, home, family support, etc. He's in a great situation compared to some dads. He even provided texts of her saying that she was going to tell people, and her even saying, "I'm white, you're black, so who do you think the police will believe?" Calling her daughter a half-breed because she's mixed race, etc. The court had everything. I've seen the records that he's shown me. His lawyers made her show her medical records, as he suspected she had something mentally wrong with her, showed that she had bipolar and suicidal tendencies, but they weren't bothered. Essentially, she made the argument that the baby had lived with her from birth, so it was in the baby's best interest to remain with her. Baby was 6 months old when they went to court. Also, she was breastfeeding, which played a big role. Court decided that she was capable of caring for the child, providing she continued taking medication for bipolarism. She blamed every nasty thing that she had said on her bipolarism and said that she was now doing better. Said that her other kids lived with her mom due to the bipolar, but she was now in a better position and could care for her new child. Judge gave her full custody with his visitation 2 days a week. Stipulations is that she must engage with mental health team and take her medications. Dad appealed it and wasn't successful. He's been advised by his lawyers not to go back to court unless she is making new threats towards child or he suspects neglect or abuse. I'm thinking if I try to get custody, it will go the same way. Maybe with the news that she abandoned another baby a year ago might sway it though. Tell your family before she can. I mean, how hard is it that say, look, I'm in a situation. I'm not sure, but I might have gotten my former girlfriend pregnant. I'm waiting on a DNA test. She's lied about so many things, so I have no idea if I'm even the father. Yeah, she views kids as paychecks. She probably claims each and every one of them on her taxes, which means she gets a heck of a check every year with 4 kids unless she makes a ton of money, which I'm assuming not though. Yep, you're just a paycheck to her. Well, it turns out she's really pregnant and this is your child. Take her to court for full custody. You can take care of this child just as well as anyone else, and then get it so that she pays you child support. That's all for today. If you're enjoying this story, please like the video and share your thoughts in the comments section down below. Thank you.